California is an incredible place. California is home to some of the world's most beautiful natural wonders. We're also home to global leaders of technology and some of the most forward-thinking minds on the planet. California is really a worldwide leader in bold public policies and a shining example of innovation at its finest. Given all that, it's no surprise that California is blazing a trail towards 100% renewable energy. But it wasn't always this way.
In 1996, the California legislature passed and the governor signed what was known as a deregulation bill. This bill ended up being a disaster for California, spiking the prices for electricity throughout the state. In early 2000 into 2001, we were having rolling blackouts throughout the state. This is one of the world's largest economies experiencing rolling blackouts because we were getting ripped off by utility companies that oftentimes weren't even in the state of California. Something had to happen. Now, the governor and the legislature's first reaction to this was, oh great, let's build more power plants. This was obviously an idea that the coal and the natural gas lobbyists were trying to push on as going, here's an immediate solution to your problem. The Environment California Research and Policy Center knew that this would not only not solve the energy crisis, but it would further exacerbate the problems that we were having with global warming.
So we knew that in order to combat climate change and to address our energy crisis, we needed to aggressively promote clean energy options like solar power in the state. California was generating just a fraction of 1% of its electricity from the sun, but we wanted to change things.
Unfortunately, while solar was incredibly popular with the public, elected officials, editorial boards, reporters, others still saw it as sort of solar was for kind of Malibu millionaires or for people who wanted to live off the grid or for the space station, and it wasn't quite ready for average people, average Californians. And that's what we had to overcome.
Our vision was for solar power to become a mainstream energy resource. We knew that it would be difficult, not only because solar was seen as a boutique resource, but also because of powerful opposition from entrenched fossil fuel interests, which wanted to continue with business as usual. And the utilities hated solar power. So our initial challenge was to change the narrative so that solar could flourish.
One of the first things that we wanted to do was to meet with some of those bright minds that we have in California, some of the forward thinkers, some of the technologists.
We partnered with economists and technology experts to help bolster our case for solar power. We released a series of white paper reports making the case for solar power's potential in California. And we got those reports before the media so that everyone, from reporters to editorial boards to elected officials, could really understand this opportunity that was right before us.
We worked with hundreds of other environmental groups and forward thinkers about ways that we could adopt the different policies from around the world and make them work in an environment like California. And obviously, one of the most important things that we did is knock on millions of doors throughout the state of California and just have a face-to-face conversation with people and remind them, here we are where we need to change our energy policy, and the solution is shining on our roofs and on our heads right now, and encouraging these people to get involved.
And we even worked to develop solar training courses for skills centers. In fact, we worked with a faculty member at the East LA Skills Center to develop a solar training course, which is in use on campuses all across the state even today. All of these pieces came together to create a tapestry of people all across the state who were absolutely in favor of solar power, excited by its potential, and wanted to see it grow. That was a landscape that we were key in helping to create. So in 2003-2004, when California's gubernatorial race began, solar was a prominent issue that a lot of people cared about. It was a crazy race. 135 people were running for governor that year. And we had helped to put such a spotlight on solar power that most of the people who were running for governor were in favor of expanding solar power because so many Californians cared about the issue.
In the end, Governor Schwarzenegger was a strong proponent of solar energy.
Eventually, with our steady drumbeat of support for solar power reverberating from all corners of the state, in 2006, California passed the Million Solar Roofs Initiative. That bill provided $3.3 billion in funding to provide upfront rebates to make solar power more affordable for California schools, homes, businesses, farms, you name it. Now, 10 years later, California has the largest rooftop solar market in the country. The price of solar has dropped over 70% since that program began in 2007, and California is on track to achieve a third of its energy from renewable sources, well ahead of the mandated 2020 timeline. That victory was only the beginning. Our goals for this great state have only grown more ambitious. The policies that our sister citizen organization, Environment California, have advocated for have put California on a path to achieve 50% renewable energy by the year 2030.
That's the equivalent of the 14 smallest states in America generating 100% of their energy from clean energy sources. So this can be done, it's real, we've proven that it works right now. Unfortunately, the utilities and the fossil fuel industry has wanted to strike back. And they've tried to do it by passing bills that would reverse our progress to undercut the programs. And last year, the Public Utilities Commission was forced to make one of these critical decisions. To help encourage them on this, we worked with a group of other environmental leaders and other industry leaders to collect over 150,000 public comments, which is the largest number of public comments that they had ever recorded, that we wheeled into them in wheelbarrows, showing the amazing support that the public had for solar and other clean energy. We'll never be able to solve the problems of global warming until we do two things. One is we have to make sure that we generate all of our electricity from clean energy sources like wind and solar, and in California we're proving that you can do that. But in addition to getting clean energy, we also need to make sure that we have clean transportation.
We've worked for years to address the single largest source of global warming pollution in California, vehicle emissions. It's critical that we transition rapidly to vehicles that do not emit carbon. We've worked successfully on this issue for years, starting in the 1990s when California, followed shortly by 13 other states, worked to tighten fuel efficiency standards.
And for the past 5 years, Environment California Research and Policy Center has been digging into the research and looking at the different ways that we can move away from the internal combustion engine.
Support for clean transportation options is high. We've released reports documenting the environmental and economic benefits of electric vehicles. We've secured support from hundreds of local elected officials all across the state in support of California's electric vehicle goals. And we've provided a myriad of opportunities for average Californians to actually get behind the wheel of an electric car and to become part of the clean vehicle revolution. Today, Californians comprise almost half of all the electric vehicle drivers in the country. And Environment California Research and Policy Center is committed to accelerating our transition to a zero carbon transportation future.
Now, more than ever, we need to continue to move forward on our programs. We need to make sure that we can generate 100% of our electricity from clean energy sources like wind and solar. We need to completely change how we move from our homes to our office to our soccer fields and back to our homes again, so that we're not creating any pollution when we drive or take the bus or take the train. And that's where Environment California Research and Policy Center is going to continue to focus. That's going to require more research, that's going to require more coalition building, that's going to require outreach to partners that we haven't worked with yet, and that's going to require programs that we can export to other states and to other countries so that we can stave off the worst impacts of climate change. While there's no doubt that we still have a lot of work to do and formidable opponents, we know this is what we need to do to create a brighter, healthier future.